Hello everybody and welcome to today's Restful Beginners Painting class. If you haven't joined me for one of these before, or maybe you need a refresher, this class is all about growth and skill building. This time is not about productivity, this time is not about perfection. It is all about taking a break and choosing to rest while stretching and growing your creative muscle. So for today's class, we are going to learn how to paint a pie pumpkin right there. And so I'm going to give you our I'm going to give you our materials that we need for the day, and then we'll get started. But before we get started, please go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, so that way you can get notified every time I make one of these videos. So let's go ahead and look at our materials, and then we'll get started. All right, y'all, let's get started. So for our materials today, you need a red paint, yellow, blue, and white. You'll need a surface to paint on. I'm using this thick grade watercolor paper. You'll need a pencil. You'll need a paintbrush about the size of your pinky nail. And then some water to clean your brush off with, a rag to dry it off with, and then a special treat of some type. I'm drinking some green tea with honey today, but whatever you want. Just get yourself a treat. Go ahead, pause this video, get all your supplies together, and when you are ready, just push play and we'll get started. So for today's class, we are obviously painting a pie pumpkin, which I am excited about. I have been cooking with these lately, obviously, and it is fall. And so I've had these on my mantle and I keep kind of taking them down whenever I want to roast them. But I figured this one was so pretty, we might as well paint it. So this is what we're painting today. Obviously it is a beautiful true orange. So we'll be using primarily red and yellow paint. But we've got some pretty brown green stems and some cream right here, and then some deeper divots. So we're gonna play with the highlights that are around the center and the low lights on the top and the base. And then we're gonna have some fun with this nice twisty, knobby stem. So I have it propped up on a flower vase, so just ignore this line right here. That is the base of the flower vase, so we can see the true pumpkin. So we're gonna get started. Start off with your pencils. So I have this placed to where you can see maybe how you would like to have it centered on your paper. You can always make it smaller or bigger, whatever suits you, but we'll start off with this. So I'm gonna try and fill up my whole paper with my drawing. So we're going for a big oval right now. Nice and simple, big oval. Something I'm not going to do for today's class, but you have the option to do, is to put words on the bottom or the top like we've done in other classes recently. And the way you'll do that is by printing out, let me see, I have some here. So you print out whatever words you want. This is obviously what I was using for our herb classes, but print it out in the size and font you like. You'll put it over top of your drawing, and then you can trace over it with a ballpoint pen, remove it, and then the indentation, you can take a Sharpie or a gel pen and just carefully trace in those letters. So that's said right now, so that if you want to have like thankful or grateful or harvest or any other phrases or quotes on your page, go ahead and think about that now as you set up your composition. Like I said, I'm not going to do that today, but if you want to plan for that, now is the time to kind of be thinking in that direction. So I am starting off just by giving us a basic shape. I'm just drawing it nice and simple. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're gonna add like some of these indentations right up in here. We're gonna add those later. Just go ahead and get that first ovally circle semi-centered on your page. Mine's a little bit smaller. I don't care, that's fine. Okay, so that is the first thing. Now we have the stem, which comes in a little bit. So we have that little bit of a triangle coming in. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna start right here, and I'm gonna draw a little triangle right at the top. See that? So right in here, we have that triangle. And it even overlaps a little bit, like you can see a little bit of orange coming behind it. So I'll go ahead and put a marker in there for myself. So I guess it's not really a triangle anymore. Anywho, you know the shape. That's what I've just done. Nice and simple. So now, let's go ahead and pull these lines up. So I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to draw this. I'll do a sideways square, a little bit smaller, right? So I just kind of came up about 2 inches and drew this little floating square. And I did that because we want these lines to be curved. And so now I can take a line and create a curve going to that point. Right? And then this one goes really knobby, so we'll bring him out even more. And this guy's peeking out. So here's what I've done just now, okay? So I drew this curve right here. Then I did this curve coming to the center of the square. So center of the square to the corner of the top square, 2 lines. And then I had the back peeking in. And so I took the corner of the square and just put it towards the middle of this line up and down, just brought that in. And you can see that all right here, right? So you see this first curve, this second curve, and then this peeking in. And now I'll bring around this indentation, and I'll just do a few more lines. Okay? So we've got that good, nice knob. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of play with my outer edge a little bit, pull it out, make it a little bit more pumpkin-y, if that's a word, and just bring it in a little bit, right? So I just brought it out from the line and just created, there it is, created an indentation, because we're going to start drawing in our indentations and lines. So I'm going to come back to the center and we'll work from the center. So this center line right here, these 2 guys, they're coming from the middle of this square and then coming out nice and wide down here. So I'm going to come from the middle, bring it nice and wide. And so now I'll take this and create a little bit of a bump. All right. And we've got that center line, so if you want to go ahead and draw this center line in, this one's a little bit more wobbly. It's not as sharp. So that's there. Let's go ahead and draw this one, where you can kind of see this right there. So it starts at the point with this. So we're even going to start in the same spot up here, and then we're going to pull all the way down to here. Nice and simple. Y'all are doing a good job. And now we see after this line right here, this gets wider and it comes on an angle. So I'm going to let that angle kind of come up. And do we even see, we don't really see, it kind of comes in this point. Sorry, I'm trying to look at my screen to show y'all and the pumpkin. So it comes to this point right in here in front of our little divot. So nice and wide. And you can create a little bump, just a little bit. And then you only get one more line, but you don't see the whole thing. So then just kind of take a little line, come into right here. And now we get to play a little bit with our base. Okay, so that's one side done. Now let's come over to this side, and this side isn't as sharp. So I see right here we've got that another wide line. It's about the same width as this. So we'll bring it to right about here. And it goes up to the point. So nice and wide to the point and give it a little bit of a divot. Not a divot, divot's inside, outside. A little bit of a bump. Okay, and then it is hard for me to see, but I think we've got one more line coming to about right here and going up to that same kind of area. Okay, we've got the makings of a pumpkin. I think, well, let's go ahead. I want to touch up this square that I made because this is more like a star, which I think is really cool. So on the square, I'm going to put a point right up on the top of it. And then I'm going to break this, I'm going to pull that in. And I'm going to pull this in. So what I just did, you see my basic square right here. In the center, I made a triangle right here. I made an equal sized triangle going inward. I made another triangle on this side coming in. And will I do it again? Let's wait for that camera to focus. Yeah, I'll do a little tiny one coming out this way. So now we've got a star top, which I think looks a lot more natural. And we can even play with, I'll put a little outward indentation here and a little outward indentation here. And that is going to make it look a lot more realistic when we go to paint. And we are now ready to paint. So you can put those pencils down, grab your paint brushes, and we're going to start painting. So the first thing we will paint is obviously going to be an orange. So let's go ahead and start mixing. You'll notice I have my paints already dolloped out, and I don't mix all of the colors at one time. I drag and mix. And right here is a great example as to why I do that, because I just took equal parts red and yellow, and my red is so much stronger. So I'm definitely going to need more yellow, but now I have more yellow on here already, and so I can go ahead and start mixing accordingly. That's one of the tricks with color mixing as you're getting started, is learning that all colors do not have equal strength. So sometimes your red is going to be stronger, sometimes your blue. It really just depends on which type of paint you're using, which brand of paint you're using. So it's best to go ahead and just drag and mix, so that way you're not wasting tons of paint. Good thing is that we're using a lot of yellow today, a lot of orange today, so you're really not likely to waste a bunch. So there we go. All right, once you get a color that you're happy with, we are going with our darker orange first. So give me a second and I will show you what color. So we're going to start off on these bands, the top and the bottom. This is the color I've mixed. Trying to give it a second to focus. I guess it doesn't want to. So that's the color I've mixed. I have clumpy orange all over my brush, so I'm going to rinse it out a little bit and wipe it off. A bright orange. Okay, so now I'm going to come to the base of my stem and start painting. So I'm going to keep in line with the lines we've made. I'm not going to go outside of those because I'm also going to go back in and add these darker lines later. Oh, that's dark. That's okay, we can always lighten it later. So go inside, and what I just did, I just mixed some water in with my paint because my paint was too thick, and so it wasn't spreading well. You can see right here that it was kind of caking up and not spreading well on the paper, but right here I added water and it's gliding really beautifully. So if you need to add a little bit of water, dip your brush in some water and it'll make it flow a lot better. Just be careful, test out what feels comfortable to you, what works well with your type of paint. It's not really a science as much as it's just kind of figuring it out as you go. And the more you do it, The more comfortable you're going to become, the more you're going to know what works well for you, what you like, what you don't like. Okay, sorry about that slight adjustment right now. It's not one thing, it's another. My battery was great this time, but my SIM card got full. So I think I was talking to y'all about figuring out the paint viscosity that works best for you. Yeah, it's just a matter of feeling it out, figuring it out. I'm sorry if there's a slightly different view on the camera. I do my best. All right, so we are just filling out this top bit, but over on the edge, we're going to come all the way around. So staying inside those lines. Paying attention to what we've already drawn out so that we don't have to do things twice. And I'm not following an exact science on how low I make this. I'm just going to figure it out as I go. Put in some, see how I like it. Change it later if I need to. Pay very close attention to what your outside edges look like. So that's where you definitely are going to want to add some water to make your paint flow, because you don't want that cakey edge. You want sharp edges on your painting. So we did that top bit, and now we're going to do just the bottom. And you'll see with the bottom, I'm kind of following more of a U shape on each of these because it feels more three-dimensional for me. And I might go back up and add that in when I add the next layer of color. But you know, we work in layers. And so this is not the only layer that's going to happen, it's just the first one we're putting down. And then this whole back third. This back one is all dark. Okay. Sorry, I'm just looking at what we're painting, making sure I've got it right. Let's go ahead and use this color. We might go with a slightly darker color in some spots. But let's go ahead and draw our lines in the center with this color. So starting about right here, drawing those lines out. Be careful not to drag your wrist in paint. If you need to turn yours around like I just did, go ahead and do that. All right, we have a pumpkin forming in front of us. So now we need a lighter color, so I'm going to mix a little bit more yellow in. I'm going to grab a touch of white. We will add and mix as we need to till we get the right color. Y'all be sure to remember that you can pause me at any time if I'm moving too fast. Just hit that pause button, catch up, and then push play whenever you're ready to move forward. So don't feel rushed by me. That is the last thing that I want. Yeah, just pause me whenever you need to. And keep going when you're ready. Okay, I think I'm happy with this color. So I've mixed some yellow and some white in with that original color. And now I'm working with this color, which is pretty dang close. That's good. So Now we're going to fill in the white spaces in the middle. Be careful not to drag paint. Be aware of this part of your hand because that is going to be the offender. So figure out your mode of attack, if you will. We'll be moving our paintings around to help us get there. All right. I think this color, both of these colors might end up being a little darker than what I wanted, but that's totally fine. I would rather it be darker on the first layer and then I can brighten it on the third layer, or the second layer and the third layer. And I'm not doing a great job of this, but do try and cover all of your white spaces. So just be aware of how much you're covering with this layer. So on these darker ones, I saved those lines because you actually, oh, that was close, y'all. I just got paint all over my table, but at least I didn't get it on the painting today. C'est la vie. Okay, so what I was trying to show you is you can see the highlights on these darker ones, right? So you just see those highlight lines more than you see the dark ones. So I'm gonna come over here, and where that white space is, I'm gonna add a highlight. So just to the right of what's going to be your dark line, you add that highlight. I'm gonna flip it, so now it's my left. Okay, we are making some headway. So let's look at this, and we're gonna bring some of these light lines up again. So I'm looking at my center line first. So in this big guy right here, I see that highlight coming up all the way to the top. So I'm gonna bring that up. And then I notice the same thing on the other two. So right here, I'm gonna bring that up. And then to the right over here, I'm gonna bring that up. Y'all are doing great. All right, so now I want to go ahead and I want to add this darker color. So we're going to take more of the red. And honestly, let's go ahead and move to our stem also, because we are going to need to mix a good brown. So for brown, we mix red, yellow, and blue together. I'm just taking a touch of blue, because my blue tends to be very strong, so I'm just being extra cautious as we mix that brown. over here, because I want to be able to come back over here and use that for my orange later. That's not necessary, but I feel like for y'all visually it'll help you. So I'm just going to mix my brown over here. Being very hesitant as I add in that blue, because I don't want to overwhelm the color. Okay, mix a little water in with that. That is a good blue. That is a good brown. Okay, so here's the brown that I've just mixed. So we're going to start at the base, and in between, so you can kind of see, let's bring this up, you can kind of see that this is the point, this is the point, and these are the indentations. So just kind of pay attention to those, and let's go ahead and do our big lines from the indentations. If you, like me, need to flatten your brush, we sandwich it in between our rag, pinch, and pull. And then you get a nice sharp line that's nice and clean. So go ahead and take care of that if you need to. It'll make your painting a lot more clean in the end. We're putting this initial line down, and then we're going to add some more, but we're just going to use the lines we've drawn and make sure we don't lose them. Okay, so that's our first lines. Now, I'm going to mix a darker brown with a little bit more blue, more of a green brown. So I'm sure you can see, but this is really dark along the edge, and you have lines coming up, and it is a really pretty, like, ochre brown that's coming up and trailing up. So I want to make sure that we get that in there. So I'm just mixing that more ochre, cool toned brown. I'm going to flatten my brush again. And I'm going to come along the edge and just get the edge nice and dark. Okay? And now I'm going to take the flat of my brush, the point of my brush, and I'm going to pull it up to different heights. And I'm following the lines that I already drew. Can you see that? So I'm just taking it nice and flat and pulling it up along the lines that I drew. Some are going all the way to the top, some are only going midway. The more random, the better. We are going to come back and add in our cream color, so you don't have to worry too much about this layer. It's going to get covered up with that cream layer. Okay. Clean those brushes off. Now I'm going to take a little bit of this color, I'm going to put it back over here, and we're going to make a deeper maroon, maroony orange, if that's a thing. Okay, this is my color. And this is going to be our lines coming down. So definitely flatten your brush. You need a nice sharp point for this so you can see how sharp that gets. Mix some water in with it if you need to. You want it to be nice and fluid. And now we are going to trace our lines. If you, like me, have any other white that's lasting on the lines, this should be the thing that gets rid of it for you. flip as needed. This is starting to look good. Yeah, right here I'm having to hover my hand rather than plant it on the paper, as we've talked about in other classes, and that is so much harder. But I've got so much wet paint, I'm having to be very careful. Look at that, we're starting to get a pumpkin, y'all. How exciting. And I'm gonna bring this guy all the way down. Alrighty, let's keep moving. I'm gonna need some more yellow. If you need some more paint, go ahead and get some. I'm also gonna take a sip of my tea. So good. All right, so now we're gonna mix a lighter color to kind of start going over the top, and we're gonna start building this up. Yes, that's what we're gonna do. Sorry, I had a thought. But we'll do that first, and then we'll come back around to getting the cream on top of this. So let's grab a little white. So right now I just have some remnant orange, some yellow, and some white. And I'll drag a little bit of red in. My red's really deep, so I'm being a little hesitant towards how much I add, because I really want this to be a nice highlight color. Mix some water in, get it nice and fluid, make sure it flows well. Now we're going to go back over the top of these guys and kind of hit some highlight points. So we'll start with this one, since that's kind of our main area, and I'm just going to start down here and just hit it with some lighter color, just like that. So I'm just doing a little bit of a stroke. And I'm going to do each one a little differently too. So this one, I'm going to hover on this edge because you really see it right here. So nice and sharp. Oh y'all, this is about to look good. I don't know about you, there's something in the art community, I don't know if you've heard it before, where people talk about the ugly middle, and you just have to push through the ugly middle to get to the finished product. And so a lot of times when I get that first layer down, I am looking at a painting and thinking, this is unredeemable. But you have to push through the ugly middle to get to the beautiful finished product. So I feel like we're at that turning point now. We start to add details where you start to see the potential for a finished product if you just keep pushing through the ugly middle. So that's where we're at right now. We are seeing the potential and starting to push through. So I made that little dollop right here because you see it right there. And I'm just going to pull it up just a little bit. Just like that. I'll do some more right here, just freestyling it. And then I'm going to do a line right here on this side, hitting that center. Starting to look good, y'all. Okay, so coming over to this side right here, I need to hit this one with another line, hit that with light, and I'm gonna hit just the edge of this one. Good deal. Pull this guy up a little bit. I'm gonna hit this center line. He comes all the way down. then I'm gonna bring this down a little bit too. Just like that. Bring him up again. Yeah, you're beginning to see this is not, there's no one way to do this. We are putting the rules of, we've got dark, followed by a highlight, followed by a middle ground, deeper orange, lighter orange. So we're following the rules of this, but not every pumpkin has this exact line, or this one. It's all a little bit organic, a little bit random. So if yours aren't exactly like mine, if mine isn't exactly like this pumpkin, it's no big deal. It'll still look like a pumpkin, and we will all be fine. So let's take a little bit of this orange, pop it over here, and we're gonna make this cream color. So mixing some white in with what was already on your brush. Mine's a little bit more orange than the actual pumpkin right now, so I'm gonna take a dot of blue. If you don't wanna play with that and risk any mess ups there, you don't have to. But that did just bring mine down to a cooler cream color, which I think is what this is. So mix some water in with that, make it nice and fluid. Okay, let's go ahead and flatten those brushes. So let's fill out that top star first. Being very careful not to get paint anywhere. So cool. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna add our layers, and then we'll probably do one more lighter color on top of this. But let's go ahead while we have this flat brush, and let's pull down on our white spaces. So anywhere where you didn't end up getting the brown, blue-brown color, that ochre color in, just go ahead and fill in with this cream color. Cool deal. This is coming. This is coming. So let's let that dry. And we're just gonna work on some fixes real fast. So I'm gonna add a little bit more highlight, and I'm gonna need to come back in right here. You see I still have white space up there, so I'm gonna need to fix that. So I'm gonna add just some more highlights, fleshing this little pumpkin out, making it nice and pretty. And the more layers we do, the more it's gonna pop, the more it's gonna feel three-dimensional. And I'm just really just grazing these over the top. You can see there's no real plan, but you can kind of already see our layers. So we've got this first layer right here, second layer. Now I've added a little bit more white, a little bit more yellow, and we've got our third layer. And so it'll start to look less like the color of the skin and more like a highlight that's happening on it. And that little highlight is gonna make it look good and three-dimensional. Good pop, just bringing that pop in, making it look three-dimensional. I'm also narrowing my field, so I'm paying attention. So we've got our darkest color, our middle color, our lighter lines, and I'm kind of narrowing where the light spots go and making it feel more like it's centering in. This one's a little tricky for me because with where the pumpkin is angle-wise for the camera up here is different from what I see back here. And so I'm having to do all of my drawing from the view of the camera. And there are, you know, boxes and squares all over the camera, so I have blind spots today. But we make it work, right? Okay, so just kind of add your highlights, add your moments of volume in as you see it. I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna fix this right up here, because that just can't be. So I'm over here making just a deeper orange again. It doesn't matter if it's exact to what I had before. I'm gonna disperse it along the whole top layer, and no one will know it was unintentional. Flatten your brush if you need to. Just be good and careful. See, I am just moving this color beyond where I need to make my repairs, because the more we disperse it, the more intentional it looks. And all it's going to end up doing for me is adding another level of interest, another layer of color, and just more detail. The more we add, the better it's going to be in the end. So I'm putting it where I don't need it, but just where it'll balance the painting out, so that way it doesn't look like I messed up and had to patch my painting. Instead, it looks like I just kept adding. All right. So go ahead, get rid of all those white spaces that you have left. Move your painting around as you need to make sure you're not dragging paint. And be very careful with these edges. You want a nice, sharp, sharp edge. Okay, we are coming. Yes. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's mix that lighter color. Whew. Sorry, I saw something, I just gotta fix it. Okay, let's go ahead and mix that cooler white to go over the top and finish out our stem. So wash your brushes off. I've still got a little bit of this cream color, so I'm going to take just a touch of it, mix it with some white. Just a little bit of blue. Okay. That's nice. So you can see right here, it's darker than the white, but it's significantly lighter than that other color. Here it is up close. So get a nice flat brush, pinch and pull, grab some water if you need it, and now we're just going to go back over top of what we've already painted out. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm even going to intentionally let some stay uncovered. So you see I didn't fully fix it, I just kind of put some inside. And now I'm not going to cover over all of the cream, but I'm just going to add another dimension with a very flat brush. So flatten again if you need to. Very flat brush. I'm going to add just another little bit, a few more lines coming down, not going all the way to the bottom necessarily. Just adding that rich dimension. These brushes get so thick so fast. I know I've told you this before, but how I get my brush to stay level against the painting is I plant my wrist down and then I hold my brush. I kind of arrange my fingers to where I'm choosing the level that my brush is, and then I slowly just pull. And that helps me to get an even line. So if you're struggling with getting an even line and your kind of brush is hovering at different levels, that's what you do. You plant, choose a layer with your fingers, and then just pull that way. The more you know. Okay, and obviously I don't have a shadow under my pumpkin because it's not actually sitting on anything. It is on a flower vase. So that is I think that's all I have to teach you today. Obviously, I could still piddle with this more and make it more refined. You can still piddle with yours some more. I encourage you to, but I hope that this time has been restful for you and fun for you. Please stick around, keep painting as long as you need to. Find me on Instagram. My name is Meredith Rayford Art on Instagram, and hit me with a DM. Send me a picture of what you're working on. Shoot me a DM. Ask me if you have any questions on how to finish this up. I am more than happy to help you get this finished. I actually really enjoy that, and I love getting to see what you create. So please enjoy the rest of this time. Remember, this is restful, this is joyful. You do not have to be a perfectionist here. You do not have to be a professional here. This is just for you. So enjoy the rest of your painting time. I will catch you later. All right, y'all, that is a wrap on our class on pumpkins. If you're not finished yet, please take your time and just enjoy the process. This is all about resting and growing and skill building. I know I've said that a lot, but I know that sometimes it's hard for us to put aside our perfectionist selves. So just remind yourself as you finish up this painting, it is all about you enjoying the process. And you can always do a second one, do a second attempt if you don't love this one. If you do love this one though, please post a picture, please tag me in it, use the hashtag #LovelyThingsToCome so that I can see it and so that other people who are doing this class also can see and celebrate the beautiful things that you're creating. Also, before you leave, please subscribe to my channel. That helps me to see how many people are watching these videos, and it also helps me to potentially monetize in the future so that I can continue making these videos for free. So that's all I have for you today. I hope that you have had fun. I hope that this has been a joyful, restful class for you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and joining me today. I'll see y'all next time.